Hey YouTube, this might be the penultimate Tele Tuesday. I'm saving up the best for last. I've got a guitar that I think probably everyone watching will think is the best one I've got. I don't know. It's really nice. Yeah, so it wasn't really that long ago. It was before I started doing Tele Tuesday that I last had the Door guitar out. This, I'll just talk about it again anyway. So I put strings on it now, so the strings on it are 3 years old. So now it's playing much better. So this is another kitchen worktop number. This was the 32 or the 28 mil. In fact, I can probably just measure it. Kitchen worktop. This was made out of. This is the 28 mil. Yeah. So 28 mil thick kitchen worktop. What I did was I drew around the Telecaster shape and hollowed it out, or just jigsawed it out. So there's big hollow sections in it. This bit here is hollow. It's hollow all the way down this bit here. If you know what I mean. Like, well, when I say hollow, I mean I just actually cut it out with a jigsaw, and then I stuck a piece of my old bedroom door on the front and on the back, which is like sepia, I think it's called. It's all sort of very 1980. I think the original house was built. These doors, and then I cut an F hole in it, so it's hollow down here somewhere. This bit is solid because I was thinking in advance that if I made that hollow as well, it's going to be very neck heavy. So as it stands, it's not bad. I do have quite a thick strap on it, slightly neck heavy. Well, no, if you have it at an angle like that, it's not neck heavy at all. So Telecaster neck on the top, left-handed Telecaster neck on the bottom. I know that because I've actually used Tipex or something. In fact, I seem to remember I might have actually drilled a wee hole and filled it with white filler on the top of the neck. Because if you look at that, I bet you, I can't see it from here, but I bet you that the wee dots to tell you where you are on this side of the neck, not on this side. Which, if you've never played, you tried to use a left-handed neck or something, I wasn't aware that I ever used those white dots until I got a guitar that didn't have them, and suddenly you're like, ah. So it actually lines up pretty well. I kind of designed it to line up pretty well, so when you're looking at the 12th fret there, you are looking straight down onto the 12th fret on the other guitar, even though it doesn't look like it there. Yeah. If I actually do it right. This is a piezo in behind an acoustic bridge. Stuck on the top here, it's got a wee passive tone and volume control and its own output down here, which I've got plugged into the loop pedal and then going into the bass amp. So don't have an acoustic amp, bass amp, sort of like I did press the brightness button on it, so it sounds more like an acoustic if you used an acoustic amp or a PA than it does playing to a bass amp, but it does the job. The electric is, as I say, a left-handed neck. It's got a hot rail, I think that's a coil split, and a volume and a tone for the electric. There is no internal switching. I had all these ideas about building special pedals for it and stuff, but the problem is with an acoustic and an electric, I just seem to remember it wasn't that long ago I talked about this. Talk about it again anyway. I've got a few guitars that are sort of hybrids. In fact, I've actually got this one here. Is there anything sitting on top of it? I'm going to be able to pick it up. Yeah, I'm going to be able to pick it up. Something like this. So here we go. Get this Kramer, which has a piezo bridge on it, its own volume control and its own separate output. The reason it's got the separate output, which is a great thing, is if you plug an electric guitar into an acoustic amp, it sounds pants. If anyone's ever, probably doesn't happen these days, but back in the day before you had an amp, you used to plug it into your stereo. Electric guitar sounds crap into a stereo. Bass and acoustic sound okay, but electric sounds bad because the electric guitar amp doesn't just amplify the sound of the guitar, it creates its own sound sort of thing. The speakers compress and it changes frequencies and stuff, so you actually get the sound of an amp. Whereas to a certain extent, a good bass amp or a good PA just amplifies whatever's coming out the guitar. Obviously that's where things like your modelling presets and amp simulators and all that stuff come into play, so you can actually just plug one of them straight into a PA. Not as good as actually having a real amp though, in this case the real Amy. I'm using the big speaker cabinet as well. For the electric side and the acoustic sides, the Marshall B150 bass amp. Yeah. So what I was saying there with having to have the separate amps for the guitar, it's kind of, you can't just have, if you're going into one, there's a compromise. It might actually, when I was talking then about the modelling, if you can switch the modelling off, it might be able to use something like that, like go to a one input, so you can just stomp on a switch, or use some sort of amp selector where if you're going to go into acoustic, you stomp on it and it'll switch it onto the other amp type thing. You can do it that way. The other problem is strings, because acoustic strings are not the same as electric strings. Acoustic strings have got much more, you could batter them an awful lot more, and apart from, they do have like a wound G string, which the electrics don't have, but there's more to it than that. I mean, I've put acoustic electric strings on an acoustic before, and it doesn't have the ring that an acoustic needs. So even with something like that Kramer, obviously it's got electric strings on it, because if you put acoustic strings on electric, you can't bend them and they don't sound as good. So the way around that to get both sounds is to have two entire guitars, a solid body with a semi-hollow piezo acoustic and an electric in one, and it's a Telecaster. I think I've probably talked enough about it. I've got the volume controller. You see if the copyright strike hits, I'm not really bothered if it does. Every time I've been worried about doing, I did Popcorn the other day. Didn't get a copyright strike. I don't seem to be getting copyright strikes because I just don't think I'm close enough to the original versions. I might get this one because it's got words in it, the way. I've done this hundreds of times. I've never done it with the drums. I don't know if I've ever done a video of it. I used to play this at acoustic jams all the time. From Woodstock. Coming into London from over the hills, flying in a big airliner, chicken flying everywhere around the place, keeping it much finer. I was coming into Los Angeles, bringing in a couple of keys. Don't touch my bags if you please, Mr. Customs Man. I was thinking of applying different words there to suit me a bit better, rather than bringing in keys. Coming in from China through the tip, bringing in a couple of tellies. Don't touch my bags if you please, Mr. Customs Man. nines on it, which is weird. Both of them. The strings are vibrating sympathetically on this guitar when I play this one, so I just leave that on. Not that note. That note. Trying to remember what the other verse was, I'm sure there's 3. Can't remember it. Coming into Glasgow from over to China, bringing in a couple of tellies, and a man in the man, and the donuts man. Anyway, shut it! Yeah, so that was supposed to be Coming into Los Angeles by Arlo Guthrie. The only version I've ever heard that's fast like that is the one on the record, like the old, it's a triple record of Woodstock. In the film, I think it's the studio version of the film, it's dead slow. You know, it's much more like that, and I think the studio version is as well. So the only version you can really get is the only good version is from the actual Woodstock record. Something going on there. The fuzz and the thing. So actually, that's really probably the longest I've ever played this, and I kind of get used to it very quickly. It's not that heavy. As far as what I expect it to be like. This might actually work quite well. As soon as it's got this extra bit of the strap, unless of course the bit falls off the strap. So I should be able to just lift this up and it should give me the reading of how much it actually weighs. .9 kilograms. 4.5 kilograms. Yeah, 4.5 kilograms. So that's it's well within. I've definitely played, like, you know, Les Pauls, Epiphone Les Pauls, way more than that. It's not really that difficult to play the acoustic. I could maybe have it set a little bit higher. The acoustic's kind of where I would want a telly, and this is just a bit slash Duff McKagan low, but not hugely so. You know, if someone handed me a guitar to play a song at a jam or something like that, and it's like the strap was at the electric guitar was at this level, I can get away with it. It's not like pure impossible. This is, so I think maybe I'd just raise it up just a little bit, and that'd be fine. But I can totally fling it about. It's great fun. I think I was going to just sell this, and I built it a few years ago, and I made a mess of putting the bridge in, and I sorted it out like a few months ago when I did a video for it, but never changed the strings. It was just one of those things that if I needed to not think about it. This is before I realised that if I've got a problem with something like that, in fact it kind of works a wee bit in life as well with other things, you know, it's like what you do is I've been spending all afternoon at it, I can't get it to work, put it away, forget about it, and then come back to it tomorrow, and then maybe something very obvious is something I've just been missing. So I do that. That's a good tactic, you know, if I'm working on guitars, if you're just having problems, because sometimes you're so into it. It's the same thing, see when you're trying to find a buzz, you know, you've got like a buzzy fret, and it's like you think you've got it, but because you've been listening all day to the string buzzing, you can still hear the buzz, because all guitars buzz a bit. You know, there is fret buzz, it's never absolutely clean. So it's just a case of how little buzz. The best guitars have very, very little, but it's still there. You know, when people say, oh, there's no buzzing at all, it's kind of not possible, because it is a string which buzzes. You know, it's like maybe I suppose you can get away with it if you don't have any frets and you only play open strings. You can get one that doesn't buzz at all, but there's always a slight, just by the nature of the guitar. I was also going to use this into, I've got like an acoustic preamp pedal, because this is an unpreamped, there's no battery for the acoustic, it's just, the reason for that is because I wanted this to fit on within the thickness of the guitar, because it's quite a thin guitar. You know, trying to make it as practical as possible. Obviously it doesn't fit in any cases. In fact, you wonder, I'm pretty sure it doesn't fit in any cases. Otherwise, I'm going to take this into the studio with the band and see, maybe play one of the songs acoustic just for the sake of it. The mistake I did make, I put nines. I bought a few packets of strings off a guy in Glasgow. If you're in Glasgow, there's a guy who does Harley Benton strings. I think he's bought like a box of them. Because if you look up Harley Benton strings, they're like 150 or 160 a pack from Thoman. And you think, oh, bargain, I'll have them. You know, I'm just talking putting them on guitars that, you know, I don't put those sort of strings on expensive guitars. But you know, for bucky casters and stuff, I'm not putting elixirs on it because it might not be what you want anyway. So he sells them on Facebook Marketplace. If you see it, it seems like a nice guy. I was trying to organise to go and pick up a set, and I bought a few packets. Actually, he's got 12s, which are the acoustic ones. 12 acoustics, 10s and 9s, and I put 9s on this, which I'm not. 9s are very bendy, and especially if you're playing 12s on an acoustic and then going straight on to 9s, I should really have put the 10s on. But done now. So this guitar, so Tele Tuesday, nearly over. I don't know, maybe I'll end up with another telly by next week and I'll be able to extend it. So I've got 2 weeks for somebody to give me a telly or sell me one cheap so I can have another. I can extend Tele Tuesday and then I'll have to think of something else. It seems very obvious to do Washburn Wednesday. That'll keep me going until after Christmas. Easy. I don't know why I do that. Yeah, so unplug this thing so you can see what it's all about. Yeah, so as I said, Sapelli door on the top, on the front, Sapelli door on the back, bolt on necks, 2 telly necks. This has just got cheap tuners on it, but it was more an experiment to see if it worked, and then I was going to build another one, and I just never did. I really want to paint or varnish the outside bit. There's also a bit there I'm not happy about. See, there's blue pen where it was obviously when I was drawing round it at some point. So I assume what I did was I cut out the middle block into telly shape, put the necks on, and then put the door top and the door back on it. Even sounds like a door because that's what it is. Obviously you can't use a real door. These doors, especially these ones on the inside, they're just the only strength is down the outside because. And then the inside is then it's a sort of cardboard honeycomb type thing. You can't be able to build a guitar out of that. So this is solid. The bridges and the necks are mounted onto solid butcher's block. The only hollow bits are. Doesn't sound hollow there. It's definitely hollow all the way up here. It's solid here. I was thinking for weight. It'll be hollow here because I need to get the electrics in. It's hollow there. I'm not sure, I can't remember exactly what the exact pattern was. I've probably got photos of it somewhere. Rock on!